2 races remain in the hunt for a Superstar Series championship in 2025, and we head to the state of Florida for race number 29 of this One-Up Superstar season at the Walt Disney World Speedway in Orlando, Florida, for 70 laps of high-stakes racing between 42 drivers to see who wins big here in Disney World and who can have the big championship advantage going to Miami, or even if Dillon Young can possibly lock up his first championship today. And alongside me in the booth to bring you all the action for today's race is Jacob Krega with us as per usual. This is the first chance Dillon Young has had to lock up the championship. He starts 5th today. Is it possible?
It's very possible. I mean, he only needs to outscore Devon Fair by, 12 points? To 13 points, something like that. And Devon Fair, meanwhile, yeah, he starts one spot behind Dillon Young, which is only 1 point difference, but anything can happen in motorsports. We've already seen that plenty of times this season. I mean, Miles Mashburn was leading the standings a majority of the year, but a couple of costly mistakes has kind of forced him back a few spots in points, allowing Dillon Young to be in the position he is now. So, who knows? Something can happen to Dillon Young that blows this championship wide open for everybody. I mean, you got Julio Cesar. He's going to be starting on pole, as we'll see here in a moment when we took up the starting lineup. He's all the way down in 98 points out from Dillon Young, and he's down in 11th. He's the last guy still eligible to fight for the championship going into this race. So he's already on lock to try and do everything he can to remain in championship contention, but that is easier said than done.
It certainly is, and let's not discount either the other Revolution Racing cars. Christian Vargas, Cale Tescar Jr., they line up 2nd and 3rd today. Both are in with a decent shot at the championship. We'll see what can unfold after 70 laps here today. A quick look at those points. Dillon Young has one hand on the championship trophy already. He's 40 points to the good over Devon Fair in 2nd. Christian Vargas, Miles Mashburn, a further 1 and 5 points back respectively. Then you got to go all the way back to Cale Tescar Jr., who's 72 points out. He needs a very good day today to have any hope of the championship. Everyone behind him is going to need a miracle. But those 4 drivers, Young, Fair, Vargas, and Mashburn, those are the ones I'm going to be keeping my eye on today, because those are the 4 that realistically can still win this.
Yeah, and granted, they are going to need a lot of help from Dillon Young, maybe falling back in the running order here today, so that way they have an even better shot come Homestead next time out. But they're still within mathematical shot entering this race if it were to be the final race today. It's not, obviously, but still, they do need to gain some points here if they want some help going into Homestead. I mean, you said it, Vargas and Tescar already having a decent shot of doing that. They start 2nd, 3rd, like you said, so they're already gaining a few points on Dillon Young. But again, with Dillon Young running out or starting off 5th, that's easier said than done.
Well said indeed. And with that being said, we can now bring you the starting lineup for today's 70 laps at Walt Disney World. Julio Cesar doing everything he can possibly do to keep himself alive in this title fight. He, like you said, he entered this race 98 points out of the lead. He needs an absolute divine intervention to win this championship, but he will start on pole today. Christian Vargas alongside him on the front row, still looking for his first win of 2025, as is Cale Tescar Jr. in 3rd position. William Brock with a very strong qualifying run in 4th position, but Dillon Young in the top 5. He's been there much of these playoffs, and it would very much surprise me if he wasn't in the running for this race victory when it's all said and done.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's been a very strong season for basically everybody up here in the top 10. So, well, maybe not necessarily William Brock, since he hasn't been in playoffs, but even then, like, William Brock still has shown some flashes of front running pace. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of these guys in the top 10 or even top 15 even had the capability of being able to have some sort of race winning pace if they can get themselves in a position to do so. But honestly, speaking of the top 15, look at Crossroads Racing, 11th, 13th, and 15th starting off with. So great starting spots for Crossroads. Let's see if they can at least try their best to at least stay there and maybe even pick up a few spots.
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we? Because with that being said, we have 42 drivers ready to take on the 1 mile oval at Walt Disney World Speedway. This 3-turn racetrack has provided some interesting racing over the years, and it's going to no doubt do so again today. With that being said, we've got them all ready to go. We're ready to go. The 1-Up Superstar Series from Walt Disney World is next. Will we see a new champion today? We're about to find out. It is Julio Cesar, Christian Vargas on row 1, the green flag's flying, and for 70 laps these cars take on the Walt Disney World Speedway. Cesar with a big lunge into turn 1 to try and get the nose out on Christian Vargas, but the 54 will have the advantage with the momentum off the top side down the back straightaway.
Yeah, it looked like Julio Cesar didn't get the drive off. Test car was really physically pushing on the back bumper of that 00 going through turn 1 there, and whatnot. William Brock was trying to fit in line there, but here comes the 29 trying to get to his inside, trying to take that 4th spot. Wasn't able to do that. Now here comes Brock to the outside of the test car into turn 1.
And one thing we're going to be talking about all day long is the struggles that everybody's going to have through turn 3 of this racetrack. Get too low on that part of the track, you're going to lose easily 15, 20, maybe even 30 miles per hour. So you got to keep steer wide in that corner to make sure you can keep up your momentum. That's the key to success at this track. As look at that, 3 wide further back with Sanders, Mashburn, and Patrick Smith down on the inside. Oh, they make contact on the front straightaway. They almost had a wreck there.
Yeah, just with the confines of the front straightaway there coming off turn 3, and with as tightly packed as the field is on the opening of every race, your contact is bound to happen. Ooh, Ellison actually gives Stanley Andrews, I believe that was in the 1 car, a little bit of a bump going in through turn 2 there. As I say that, nothing really harmful from that, though, as they were able to keep it going in a straight line. So, but yeah, Mashburn and Sanders making contact, that's bound to happen here. As we see now, Test car and Brock, they basically swapped lanes here. Test car able to hold off for 3rd, Brock's remaining in 4th. Dillon Young still in 5th spot.
Yeah, Dillon Young, he's basically doing what he needs to do at this point. Just hang out in the top 5 for now. See how this race comes to you. But one thing he really doesn't want to see is Christian Vargas leading this race the way he is. Because Vargas, as they run right now, would gain a decent chunk of points on him. And that's not what Dillon Young wants. He wants to put a stamp on this championship, so he needs Vargas to fall back quite a ways. But Julio Cesar is going to do his best to try and take the lead away from Vargas and give his own championship hopes a booster shot. Because right now, he has the fastest lap of the race currently and is on pace right now to track down the 54.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. It's been famous song, different verse basically for the 54 and even the 18, where they lead early, they have something happen in the mid race, and then they fall back and just aren't able to close out the deal. So Vargas has really got to focus on making sure that doesn't happen, as we see Brock basically being a cork in a bottle here for basically 5th on back to about 8th here between Young, Finguy, and Devon Fair, and it looks like one of the Venta cars is joining the battle as well. Can't quite tell who that is. I think that's
McDonald in the 12. Yep. And Henry Thomas is not that far behind him. Stephen Gale right behind him. So all 3 of the Venta Motorsport cars. They were good in practice earlier this weekend. They were good in qualifying as well. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with today, I'm sure, as Young completes the pass on William Brock to move up into the 4th position.
And that's allowed Devon Fair to try. Ooh, Devon Fair got on that inside line, had to check up there. I think it's really dusty there on the bottom of that inside line there, and that causes the cars to be get a little loose here. See here, Test car making it a Revolution Racing 1-2 now as he gets around the Spa 00 of Julio Cesar.
So move Teskar up to 2nd. Let's see what he can do now to try and chase down Christian Vargas. Because Teskar needs a really good day today, and he needs Dillon Young to falter quite a bit to stay in the hunt for the championship. It's a tall order, but Teskar has been very determined this season to try and win a race and stay in the championship hunt as long as he possibly can. But for right now, Vargas has led all the laps so far, as McDonald makes the move around Devon Fair. That is for 7th spot.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's commendable to Teskar for him to be in the position he is right now in the first place, considering, the struggles with him trying to find a win, just because he has still had that consistency of a lot of top 10s and even a handful of top 5s. That's kept him in the hunt despite not really being able to capture that victory. To see he has the fastest lap of the race thus far, as we're about ready to complete the 1/7 mark of this race.
Yeah, so far so good, but there's still a long way to go. We're going to take 60 laps to go this time, and the whole field now separated by about 15 seconds on the track. As you look through the running order on the top of your screen, see where your favorite driver is running after 10 laps have been completed. We're on lap 11 now. Vargas has a near 2-second lead over his teammate Teskar, and I think you're right. This 93 probably out-qualified where his equipment is, and is starting to fade as a result of that.
Yeah, but crucially, it held Dillon Young just enough to where he is double the amount of time behind Vargas as Teskar is. So, that's not necessarily what Dillon Young wanted, especially when he's trying to minimize the bleed of points to those ahead of him.
No, but you see Teskar has another fastest lap of the race in his pocket, so that's a good sign from the 18 car at this stage in the race. He's closed the gap by about maybe half a second in the last couple of laps to his teammate. We'll see what it is at the line here. Yeah, he took another couple tenths out. So Teskar's putting the pedal down to try and catch the 54, that's for sure.
Yeah, the Revolution cars definitely have speed here, so that's not being denied at all whatsoever. I mean, you still have Devon Fair back there in 7th as well to kind of back up that.
Teskar's low on the track. He's got a problem. He's coming to pit road on lap 13 of this race. Cale Teskar Jr., we think it's a left rear tire going down on that 18. That's forced him into the pit lane, and this will surely dash his championship hopes for this year.
Yeah, that is definitely not what he wanted. Of course, I was just saying Revolution had speed, but man, that is going to be a big blow to Teskar Jr. Not what he wanted, especially when it's down to the penultimate race of the season. And yeah, there you see the left side tires going up, and he is down and away. He's going to be lucky if he doesn't lose a lap to Vargas here. It's going to be very close.
Maybe not that close, because there goes Vargas around his teammate to put Cale Teskar Jr. one lap down, and he basically comes out onto the racetrack in the same spot he was in before, just lost a lap in the process. But now he's got Julio Cesar on warmed-up tires right behind him.
Yeah, and right now Teskar Jr. has got to be hoping for a yellow that he can catch that he isn't the cause of, so that way he can get that lap back and maybe get around some people who might need to pit themselves here. But man, tough break for that 18 team, especially with as close as the championship fight is in terms of being able to still be eligible mathematically to fight next week.
And what that also does is it moves Dillon Young into a podium position here in this race. He's about 4 seconds back of Christian Vargas, who now has a 3-second lead over Julio Cesar. Make that 4 seconds between Vargas and Cesar. That 54 is flying along. But at the rate he's going, he may end up catching the back of the field to start lapping cars. And one, that's not what Teskar wants, because he wants the free pass. And two, if it slows down Vargas enough, that could bring these guys right back to his bumper.
Yeah, but on the flip side, Teskar isn't necessarily driving away from Julio Cesar, and that gap is continuing open. So Teskar could also be trying to play the team game here, trying to slow everybody up, so that way Vargas basically has an undeniable chance of winning this race, and also allows a chance for maybe those behind Dillon Young to maybe try and catch up, to maybe try to make a move on Dillon Young, although it's not necessarily working because there's still about a second and a half gap between Dillon Young and William Brock in that 93.
Keep in mind as well, going back to Christian Vargas, this is where he won this race last year at the tail end of 2024. That and Homestead last year were his last two wins in this series, so he knows his way around this place, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him do it again, especially with a near 5.5 second lead at only the 19th lap of this race. But if Young and Caesar can find their way past Teskar and start to charge after the 54, boy, is that going to be an entertaining battle to watch.
I mean, it's an interesting battle to watch already, just trying to see how they navigate trying to get around Teskar, who's actually pulled away a little bit from Julio Caesar a little bit, as Young has caught up to the back bumper of the 00 there. So, as we now see Brock under fire from Finn Guy here, that is the move for the 4th spot now. Finn Guy on that outside lane trying to get around Brock. So now we focus back on the battle for 2nd.
Yeah, and Finn Guy is got to get up here and join this fight because he knows that his chances at a championship are likely over to repeat as champion this year. So his main focus now is to help this 29 as much as he possibly can, and if that means roughing up Julio Caesar or at least giving him a battle for the remainder of this race to give Dillon Young the opportunity to run away, I think he'd take it.
Well, Dillon Young doesn't seem to be needing the help just yet because he was able to get to the inside of Julio Caesar there in turn 1.
Ooh, but he wasn't quite able to make the move.
Ooh,
rough turn 3 there.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit dusty on the inside of the corner. And that's why the cars kind of don't get up to speed because they're sliding coming off that corner there. And it looked like Dillon Young got up into that dust a little bit.
As meanwhile, Christian Vargas is only about a straightaway or so behind the back of the field, so he's going to catch them relatively soon in this race. We're about 13 laps from halfway, 12 now, as Caesar's put a bit of distance between himself and Dillon Young. The gap between the leader and second, about 6 seconds, but critically about 1.2 back between Caesar and Young now.
Yeah, and crucially, Caesar's actually caught back up to Teskar a little bit, so that's gonna put some pressure on Teskar to maybe try and slow down the 00 a little bit more here as Vargas continues to drive off into the distance to catch up to the tail end of the field here. But another thing I noticed, Devon Fair here and McDonald have gotten around William Brock as well as Finn Guy, so they're not going to try and make the charge to get up to the 29 here, try and maybe crack a podium here.
Yeah, I think William Brock, he qualified exceptionally well, but I think his equipment's starting to catch up to him. He did practice long run speed quite a lot in this race. That's why he was dead last in practice. And I think that might be hurting him in the early stages of the run where he might not have as much outright pace as everyone else.
Well, pace isn't always everything in terms of, just having the raw speed. Sometimes you do need to back it down a little bit, be able to set a rhythm, be able to conserve your tires, conserve your fuel, be able to have more consistent speed throughout a run than to have everything at the start of the run, nothing at the end, or vice versa. So, William Brock's doing a commendable job. He hasn't dropped like a rock out of the top 10 just yet. He's still within it, just barely, as he crosses the line in 8th, just ahead of the 22 of Patrick Smith. But, yeah, sometimes it's faster, kind of counterintuitively, to have that more consistent medium speed pace because it means that you're really conserving your equipment.
Meanwhile, Jeffrey Finguy hasn't been conserving much. He is all over the back of Dillon Young for the 3rd position. I don't know if he wants to make this pass, though, quite yet, because he's realizing that Dillon Young is his team's only hope at a championship this year. He might just be giving the hurry-up call to Dillon Young to say, hey, Caesar's getting a little far ahead. We need to go chase him back down, because, especially considering the gap between Vargas and these three, well over 8 seconds now.
Well, to be fair, even as a team owner, as a race car driver, you still got to go for everything you can get. And if any guy can get past Dillon Young, that's only one spot. That's only, one more point worth there?
If they can get Caesar, though, that'd be 5 points.
Yeah, true. So, if they can both get around Caesar here, and then Finn Guy gets up to 2nd, Dillon Young remains in 3rd overall with no net gain or loss position, then that's still a good position for Dillon Young to be in the end of the day.
Yes, but I really think he'd rather be 2nd than 3rd, considering the 5-point swing between second and third, and he knows that with Christian Vargas dominating this race as he is, that he's going to need all the points he can get going into Homestead, because Vargas at this rate is very much going to cut into that deficit, into that gap that Young has over him. So he wants as big a gap as he can get going to Miami. So I don't know. He's going to probably want to hold on to second if he can get it.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, we've seen big deficits be completely erased at Homestead before. Just think about Henry Thomas last year at Homestead in the Nitro National Series. So I can understand. We got someone on pit road.
Yeah, I think that's J.D. Martin in the 66. Started the playoffs so well, but now here he is on pit road with a suspected brake issue that they're going to try and diagnose on pit road. That Martin's just going to bleed spots and probably lose at least 2 laps in the process.
Yeah, with as short as the track is and with as heavy the brakes are you on, that is not the part you want to be going here, as we see Vargas has actually caught the tail end of the field.
He certainly has, and that is going to, well, depending on how quickly, yeah, there's Martin coming out of the pits. There he goes 2 laps down. But what this is going to do for Vargas is it should allow Caesar and Young to start gaining time the more that Vargas has to battle with those cars at the tail of the field like Logan Williams, Zachary Fitzwater, Daniel Bouchard, etc. So the more Vargas has to struggle back here behind these guys, there he is. There he goes. He has a slip through turn 3. That could allow the 00 on the 29 to start gaining, because we still have over half this race to go.
Yeah, but consequently, if they get up into the traffic as well, that's going to just slow their pace right back down to the same pace that Vargas is, and they're not going to gain anything more than what they would have gained with Vargas struggling. So they got to be very careful about how quickly they catch Vargas here.
Yes, but keep in mind they did just gain 0.8 of a second on that lap alone. As Young dives to the inside of Caesar for second, they almost bang doors going through turn 3. He has to get out of the gas. Caesar pinched him down onto the dirty part of the track, and now Jeffrey Finguy's hot on the case.
Yeah, and looks like Finguy back to us. So you may be right. Maybe Finguy is thinking more of the long-term gain here with Dillon Young's championship here. So he really cut that 29 in brake, which honestly, that's up to him to make that decision to do. That is his car after all. So as Vargas now looking to the outside of Logan Williams to try and put him a lap down, isn't quite able to get up to that 8 car though.
And keep in mind, going back to Dillon Young, this is the penultimate race of his one-up career as well. He stated late last year that this year was going to be his last in one-up competition. He really wants this championship on his way out the door, even if Vargas goes on to win this race, which in all likelihood he may, as he takes the halfway lap right there. But Young really wants this championship, and his first obstacle right now in this race is to get that 00 and into second place to gain 5 more points and to minimize the damage that Vargas is going to cut into his lead.
Yeah, because as they run right now, if I'm not mistaken, Vargas would exit this race as they currently run, 29 points behind Dillon Young right now?
You'd be right on that regard, because Vargas is going to lock up the point for leading the most laps here. There he goes, he just did. So that's 52 points. Teskar still has the fastest lap point. So Vargas would get 52 points. Dillon Young, as of right now, would get 40.
So yeah, it's not insurmountable for Vargas by any stretch of the imagination at Homestead, but still a pretty hefty lead for Dillon Young. Ooh, is the 93?
That's the 73.
73, my bad.
Yeah, it looks like another brake problem on the 73 of Daniel Bouchard. I don't know if he's going to make it back to the pit lane in time. He's trying to find a safe place to pull off to the side of the road, and there he goes into the access lane. I'm curious, though, if this is going to bring out a caution flag. So far not, but we'll see.
And no, not with him being towed back to pit road. That's not going to bring out a caution. He was safely off the racetrack according to the race officials, so we stay green in this race.
Which is exactly what Christian Vargas was hoping for, especially considering he has now put Logan Williams a lap down. That's not what Cale Teskar Jr. was hoping for, because A, no caution came out, and B, Williams is now in the free pass position that Teskar can no longer get, unless he drives up and passes the 8 car himself, of course.
Yeah, or if Logan Williams has an issue, or we get a pit stop cycle that just cycles Teskar ahead of him somehow. But in any case, still got to get around that 8 car, still got to be the first car 1 lap down. Although with Teskar pitting when he did, I would suspect that he would stay out at least a little bit longer than everybody else and would cycle out, if not onto the lead lap, maybe even the lead himself.
But bear in mind, he only took left side tires on that pit stop, so his rights are the same age as everyone else's. He might have to, that might force him into pit with everybody else at that rate. But we're on lap 41 of this race. We've got 30 to go, and Teskar is closing at a rapid rate on this 8 car, so he's not out of the race just yet, but he's got to hustle to get that 8 car and then hope for a caution pretty soon after.
Yeah, and also hope that Vargas does not get around the 59 and Fitzwater there, who he's right on the tail of. So, yeah, not the ideal situation for Teskar here, as he's able to get around the 8 of Logan Williams, actually edged him out at the line there. So, scored as the first car a lap down as they run, although Logan Williams still trying to fight because he knows he is the first car a lap down with 54 still behind Fitzwater. He wants to be the first car a lap down in case of caution himself.
Yeah, so this is going to be a tight battle between the 8 and the 18 for the free pass of this race, and that's not even considering if the 54 starts lapping other people. As it looks like Daniel Bouchard, they fixed the brake issue on his car and are putting fresh tires on it now. He should be back out on the track within a couple laps.
Yeah, so team figured, hey, we're on pit road anyway. Just throw some fresh tires on there. Just get that out of the way. We're already past halfway anyway. Send the car back out once repairs are done. Hey, nothing wrong about doing that. As we see Finn Guy now on the outside of Dillon Young, now to the outside of Devon Fair. Fair is able to make the move in turn 2 there, although Finn Guy's going to get him back as he pinched him down onto the dirty area of turn 3.
Yeah, I think Finn Guy's got to be sending a message to Dillon Young here, because the gap between the 00 and the 29 is over a second now. He's got to start chasing after Caesar at this point, because if he doesn't, Finn Guy's just going to pass him and do it himself. Especially considering Vargas is still not yet past the 59 to put him a lap down, and these guys have been gaining on him quite a bit.
Yeah, and crucially, it also prevents Devon Fair from being able to make a move on Dillon Young and Finn Guy himself as well, to put him in a position up into the podium as they run. So Finn Guy doing everything he can to try and help Dillon Young out.
But looks like now Vargas has put Fitzwater a lap down, so that takes away Teskar's free pass once again. Now, next up the road for him is Duke Ansack in the 83. And Caesar's still doing a decent job pulling a gap out to Dillon Young, and he's closing in on Vargas for good measure. This 00 might be saving his stuff to mount a charge in the late laps here, because now McDonald's all over the back of Fair and Finn Guy. That's for 4th spot.
Yeah, it looks like Finn Guy may have slowed up Devon Fair ever so much just to try and get them off the 29, give Dillon Young a little bit of breathing space so he can focus more on his own race, rather than having to focus on trying to hold off his team owner and Devon Fair. So, yeah, Finn Guy very much playing the basically telling Dillon Young to run. I mean, they were doing it all over social media earlier this week. So, as we see now, Fitzwater actually kind of fighting back against the 54 of Vargas here, trying to get back on the lead lap the hard way, not able to do it this time around, and that's allowed Teskar and Logan Williams to close up, and it's allowed the 00 to close in, and now here comes Dillon Young to the outside. He's closed the gap to Julio Caesar.
And he's more than closed the gap. He has erased it completely, as now the two cars battle for second position. They're 3 seconds behind Christian Vargas. That's good news for them to try and chase down the 54 and hopefully try and win this race. But for Dillon Young, his main objective now, pass this 00 and keep him back there to gain 5 more points. Even if Vargas goes on to win the race, he'll still be in a decent position at Homestead.
Yeah, because even then, like, he's still gaining on the 29 there, Vargas is. So, I mean, that would be, I believe, 34 points then would be the gap if Dillon Young makes the move here on Caesar, and he does, although Caesar's still trying to fight back here on the inside.
They could
Don't know
pinch
how well
him,
it's
though,
going to
in
work here going
three.
into turn 3.
Yeah, he'll pinch him down in the turn 3. This should be Dillon Young's pass complete. And there he goes. Dillon Young up into second position. And now the gap 4 seconds for him to try and chase down the 54.
Yeah, but that lap traffic not too far out ahead of Dillon Young himself, even with Vargas struggling to get around the traffic here. So I would expect that gap to stabilize at some point here, unless Vargas just starts blowing everybody's doors off here.
Well, he's been basically blowing the doors off everybody this race already. We'll see what the gap is at the line now as we take 20 to go. Yeah, it's come down by about 4/10. So, and this won't help Vargas at all. Mahendra and Anzac are side by side for position ahead of him, and that gives him no room to try and pass either of them.
Yeah, unless he looks to the outside to try and follow Mahendra around Anzac, but that's about the only way Vargas could probably make a move there cleanly without some sort of issue occurring. But he's still got to be very careful and tactful, because just because the lap car is, racing another lap car doesn't mean you can really take them by surprise and not risk an issue.
Absolutely, and Dillon Young's gotten the gap down now to 3 seconds. So Vargas is struggling a little bit in the lap traffic. I think he might be okay, because keep in mind as well, once Dillon Young gets up here, he's going to have to deal with the likes of J.D. Martin, Zachary Fitzwater, Tescar, Williams, and so on. So, but Martin's going to try and take the initiative to unlap himself here. He's going to try and make the move around the 54.
Although this is just going to help Vargas out, because look, he's now getting around Anzac as they head down into turn 2.
Yeah, so Vargas is very much putting a stamp of authority on this race. He's saying, if you want to take this hot away, you're going to have to do it the hard way. And he forces Anzac down to the inside. That allows him to clear the 83 and trap the 66 behind him as well.
Yep, and now Vargas has a little bit of a gap to the 42 Mahendra, as just ahead of Mahendra, it is the 53 Nolan and Ryan Griffin battling side by side. That's going to possibly be a interesting development, because that's going to possibly lead to Dillon Young maybe being helped out if Ryan Griffin does something to try and maybe slow up to 54.
And regardless, I think this race will be where Ryan Griffin clinches the Rookie of the Year award, because Logan Williams is still running behind him. Those two were the only guys remaining in contention to win that award at this point in the season. So Ryan Griffin just needs to hang on to that position, and he'll be Rookie of the Year at the end of this race. The problem that for Vargas, though, Dillon Young's closed the gap to almost 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, but it's just the nature of fighting in lap traffic and not being able to make the moves you want to, as now Dillon Young has caught lap traffic himself. That gap I would expect to stabilize at roughly 2 seconds now, depending on how well Dillon Young can navigate the lap traffic himself, as he looks to the inside of Logan Williams here, not able to complete the pass, though, as they head down in the back straightaway. Looks like Williams actually outpacing the 29 a little bit. He got the better drive off of turn 1.
Yeah, this is a track where passing is not the easiest thing in the world to complete. You got to prepare yourself for several laps in advance, and Williams just is able to push Young onto the dirty part of the track and defend the position. But Vargas, he's still got J.D. Martin trying to unlap himself again, and now he's got the Project Horizon teammates in their penultimate races of their careers, Nolan and Mahendra, directly ahead of him.
Yeah, but knowing that Dillon Young has caught lap traffic and is going to have his own struggles getting through it, just like Vargas has, does Vargas really need to pass these guys at all?
Well, the least he can do is probably let J.D. Martin through, because Martin's got fresher tires than him. So he can. The best thing he can probably do right now is let the 66 go run his own race, and then focus on the Project Horizon cars ahead of him, because the 66 is probably faster than the 54 at this point on account of those fresh tires. And now the 29's gotten the gap down to just over a second. So who knows what this is going to look like at the end of this one.
Yeah, they're all clumped together now. there was a little bit of space there. Now there isn't, and now it's down to 3/4 of a second, the gap here.
Remember
But
when
Dillon
it was
Young looks
8
like
seconds earlier on?
I remember.
But Dillon Young has closed that gap in a big hurry. He's now 3/4 of a second behind, like you said, but he still has to navigate this lap traffic, and they can just keep pinching him on the inside, prevent him from passing them. So Young's going to need a good run out of turn 3 on one of these laps to try and make the pass stick, as we now have 11 laps to go.
Yeah, I think Pepcar is actually playing the team game here himself. He's like, all right, if Finn Guy can do it, I can do it too. And I think he's trying to hold up the 29 as best he can, but Dillon Young is kind of played smart with it and is now looking to the outside, but he has Logan Williams now just ahead of him there, also kind of playing a little bit of a spoiler there. That's allowed Julio Cesar to close right back up to the back bumper of the 29 car, and it's allowed Finn Guy to close in.
And keep in mind as well, we've gotten to the point in the race now with 10 laps to go. We stopped giving out free passes now, so Tescar's stuck a lap down for the rest of the race. That might have dictated what he was going to do with the 29 to try and hold him up, because now there's no chance of him getting that free pass unless he unlaps himself the hard way. So Cesar and Finn Guy have closed right up to the back of the 29 and Devon Fair for good measure. So we've got a 4-car battle now for his second position as Vargas starts to drive away once again.
Yeah, don't look too far back, but Ben McDonald is closing in as well. So this is very much going to turn into a 5-car battle for second at this point, as we see Finn Guy now looking to the inside of Julio Cesar for that third spot. Not able to clear Cesar. Cesar's going to drive off here, although Finn Guy sends it in turn 2. They're still side by side as they round that second corner.
And we're going to take 8 laps to go. Pretty
a little bit of contact there.
Yeah, but Cesar is able to forge back ahead of Finn Guy. That's not what the 92 was hoping for, definitely. But Cesar's doing whatever he can. He's probably going to fall out of the title fight, considering Dillon Young's ahead of him now. But he's giving it a valiant effort, even though he started on pole and has yet to lead today. It's still a solid day for the Brazilian driver in his sophomore season of one-up competition. But meanwhile, Christian Vargas is just setting sail. He's got a good advantage over Dillon Young and Julio Cesar. The gap just keeps extending all the time, and now we only have about 7 laps to go to decide this race.
Yeah, I was about to say the gap was expanding there, although Dillon Young was able to close about a second there, as now Nolan and Anzac battling side by side just ahead of the 54. Looks like Vargas is going to try and look to the outside of Nolan here through turn 2 here. He's going to try and set himself up to be in a position to get around the 53 in turn 3. Although Nolan clears the 54 there going through turn 2. That is not what Vargas needed.
No, and that gap might be coming down a little bit as a result of that. Yeah, by 4/10.
Yep.
So we have 6 laps to go. Dillon Young trying everything he can to go on to win this race, because he's got nothing to lose, but he also has everything to lose. It's a bit of a double-edged sword in Dillon Young's scenario.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a decent gap to Julio Cesar behind him now. And there's practically nothing except those 4 lap cars between Vargas and Dillon Young.
Let's look at that.
Vargas
Finn
able
Guy's
to pull
getting
away
past
just
Cesar.
a little bit.
Finn Guy's making the pass on Cesar for 3rd position now.
But Julio Cesar's fighting back on that inside. He's able to clear Finn Guy off of turn number 1, able to hold on to that final podium spot just ever so slightly.
Yeah, I think still Julio Cesar's starting to fade a little bit in the late stages, because Finn Guy's now all over his tailgate for 3rd position, and we'll see if Dillon Young can hang on too. Because look, there goes Finn Guy to the outside of Cesar. He's going to easily make that pass stick. 4 laps to go, and Jeffrey Finn Guy now into a podium position. Yeah,
that's going to make it a double Finn Guy Satori Motorsports podium as well. So Finn Guy's definitely going to be happy about that, as he is now dispatched Julio Cesar. I think you're right. I think that 00 is fading, because now here comes the 73 of Bouchard to get around at that 00 as well.
Although Bouchard is 7 laps down in this race, he does have a lot fresher tires, remember, in that car. But meanwhile, Vargas I think he's pretty much content now to ride the rest of this race behind Duke Ansack, because he's got a 3-second lead over Dillon Young and Jeffrey Finn Guy, and I don't think that's a big enough lead for them to catch in this amount of time.
Yeah, not unless Vargas has some sort of issue here within the last couple of laps, which we've seen it happen before, so Vargas has just got to hang on here and hope that nothing happens, or at least the caution that he isn't involved in, maybe to come around and solidify his win here. As looks like Finn guy actually got around Dillon Young for second at the line.
He sure did.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, he did, because Dillon Young had a really rough turn 3. That probably forced Finn guy's hand a little bit. He had to make the pass, or else he would have been stacked up behind Young, and that would have let Devon Fair back into the conversation. But Christian Vargas has driven a flawless race so far, and now he takes the white flag.
Yeah, one lap to go for Vargas. He has been struggling all season long to try and close out a race here, to try and get a victory. So far, Devon Fair is the only Revolution driver to have a victory this season. That's going to change here in just under half a lap.
So coming through turn 2 for the final time, Christian Vargas has won a race in every season of his one-up career. That was at risk of falling short this year. No more. Out of 3 for the final time, Christian Vargas goes back-to-back at Walt Disney World Speedway and grabs his first win of 2025 in the 29th race of the season, breaking a 29-race winless streak in the process. And Vargas now the 16th win of his illustrious career.
Yeah, very nicely done by that 54 Vargas all race long. He has cut that deficit to match the car number of the points leader, 29 points between himself and Dillon Young, with Finn guy getting around his teammate there.
And what that has done with Miles Mashburn finishing down in 11th, that has officially eliminated the 72 from championship contention after he led so much of this points chase for so long. Mashburn's now out of it. It's down to just 3 drivers for the title. Dillon Young, Christian Vargas, 29 back, Devon Fair, 41 points in the rear.
Yeah, honestly, Devon Fair only losing 1 point in all that, as he was able to get around Julio Cesar. That's about what he was hoping for, was to minimize any points lost and at best hope for a points gain. And mission accomplished for Devon Fair at this point, as we head into one final race at Homestead.
One final race of the season, one final race of Dillon Young's career, and now he only has 2 Revolution Racing teammates to deal with in his bid for his first and only series championship. But with that being said, from Jacob Crago and from myself as well, thanks for joining us from the Walt Disney World Speedway. We'll see you again next week for the grand finale of the Superstar Series campaign for 2025 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Which of these 3 drivers will it be? Will it be Devon Fair looking for his second championship in 3 years? Will it be Christian Vargas going for an unprecedented 3rd series championship? Or will it be Dillon Young capping off an incredible series career with his first series championship?